This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good evening or night, Tuscaloosa. This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. I am live here at the SEC Media Days, and we have had a very, very busy 2 days covering all things SEC Media Days, listening to Nick Saban talk, listening to Lane Kiffin. We had a lot of fun today with Kirby Smart, Josh Heupel. A little bit of Eli Drinkwitz action as well. Oh my gosh, we have been so busy writing for all of the Walsh Writing Network websites, particularly BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com, your home for the Alabama Crimson Tide on SI. And today we wrote a lot on Mizzou Central, writing about those Missouri Tigers. Are they going to follow up their Cotton Bowl win or not? But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We're going to wrap up day number 1 and day number 2 of SEC Media Days and kind of set you up for tomorrow. Tomorrow, the superstars get going tomorrow at SEC Media Days. The Alabama Crimson Tide gets kicked off at 9 a.m. tomorrow right here at the Omni Hotel. Down, 4 levels from where I'm sitting right now. We will hear from Kalen DeBoer, from Jalen Milroe, from Tyler Booker, and from Malachi Moore. I've got my 3 questions ready for all 3 guys. I'm hopeful to get a little bit of time with all of them, and then we'll spend the rest of the day looking for fun interviews and people to talk to, the who's who in college football. But first, we do want to recap the first 2 days of SEC Media Days. We're going to talk about Nick Saban, what he said about the Alabama Crimson Tide, why he did not pick Alabama to win the SEC. We're going to talk about Kirby Smart, their dangerous driving over there in Athens, and his comments about that. We're going to talk about how polite everyone has been right here at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Not Bryant-Denny Stadium, right here in the Omni Hotel. And then we're also going to talk about the Tennessee Vols and much more. Lane Kiffin and his recruiting philosophy. That's right. Everett Osmer is commenting on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. He's on Facebook while you're on at night. Yes, it is late at night, and we apologize for that. We have just been running around the Omni Hotel trying to do a lot of different work on the website. So we appreciate everybody watching us in the evening right here, or you watch this on playback on the BamaCentral YouTube channel, or you downloaded, rated, and reviewed us on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. And to that end, we need to start our show by thanking Purple Turtle Roofing. Purple Turtle Roofing is the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and in Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection if you're in Alabama or in Mississippi. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free. And make sure you're prepared for any of life's storms. I heard it was storming in Tuscaloosa today, so make sure you're prepared by calling 877-787-6635 or visit Purple Turtle Roofing at www.roofturtle.com. Let's get it going by talking about Nick Saban. Nick Saban on Monday was basically the star of the show. It wasn't Lane Kiffin. It wasn't Vanderbilt. It was Nick Saban. And really, let's just talk about the main comment that caught a lot of our attention. He picked Texas and Georgia to play in the SEC championship game this year. He picked 2 of his disciples. Okay, we got to get inside the mind of Nick Saban and ask ourselves, one, why'd you pick against the Alabama Crimson Tide? And I think there's several reasons that he did that. First and foremost, I think that he wants to show in his new role that he is a member of the media and he's going to be objective and he's going to give you his real and honest opinions. And I do think that he thinks that Texas and Georgia are the most talented teams in the SEC this season, particularly with his absence leaving the Crimson Tide. I do think that he's got confidence in Kalen DeBoer, but You never want to see. I mean, if you leave an organization, you obviously are thinking, oh, they're going to hurt without me. And I don't think it's vindictive of Nick Saban. I think it's a natural human emotion. I know organizations that I have left, whether they are better off without me or not, I have always the next day thought, oh, they're going to hurt without me. That's just a little arrogance that I have myself. And I think it's a human emotion. So I think that was a small factor. A secondary factor. I think he wanted to honor and celebrate some of his former assistants, Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian. You got a lot of Saban assistants here in the SEC. And as we heard today, Nick Saban calling Kirby Smart his best ever assistant coach. Hard to argue with the years of service that he gave to Nick Saban here in Tuscaloosa. And obviously it was Georgia Day today, and Kirby Smart really set up the day by honoring Coach Saban in his opening statements, calling him basically, I am the man that I am today. I am the coach that I am today because of him. So mutual love, mutual respect between Nick Saban and Kirby Smart throughout the last day and a half. But why really did Nick Saban pick against the Alabama Crimson Tide? He basically went on to say, okay, Alabama is very, very talented, but I'm concerned about the issues in the secondary. And we've talked about it a lot on the show throughout the summer, all the inexperience at the defensive in the defensive back room, particularly at cornerback. But Alabama hit the transfer portal pretty hard. They went out and got Deshaun Jones out of Wake Forest. They already had Damani Jackson. Damani Jackson committed from USC to Alabama under Nick Saban, and he maintained his commitment. So you went and got two transfer portal cornerbacks. You hit the transfer portal for King Mack from Penn State. You hit the transfer portal for the young man from Charlotte. You really went out and got, Keon Sav out of Michigan. So three safeties in the transfer portal. But really, when you look at the defensive backfield, the only guy that really Coach Saban has experience coaching now is Malachi Moore. And so I wonder if Coach Saban was doing two different things. One, recognizing the turnover in the defensive backfield, and there is a lot of turnover. We just kind of highlighted a lot of it. Recognizing the inexperience at the defensive backfield room, I think you will eventually see one of these freshman corners starting for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think it's going to be Damani Jackson and either Xavier Brown or Zay Mincy or Jalen Mbakwe. And that's no disrespect to Deshaun Jones. I just think these freshmen are going to be very, very talented and are going to be really hard to keep off the field. Again, I think you're going to see freshman Red Morgan get a lot of playing time this year for the Crimson Tide. I think the secondary is going to be rotating bodies all day long. And I think that Coach Saban probably picked against Alabama because of the secondary, because the secondary is his baby. A lot of those guys transferred out of Alabama. Trey Amos, Caleb Downs, you got Des Ricks, you got the cornerback who went, Antonio Kite went to Auburn, right? You got a lot of defensive back players who transferred out of Alabama, and those are his guys. And he thinks, Alabama lost a lot of my guys, lost a lot of the guys that I coached. And so, of course, that's going to leave Coach Saban with concern for the defensive backfield. I think that's valid. I think that's legitimate. But I wonder if Coach Saban was trying to pull a little trick for the Alabama Crimson Tide, trying to serve a dish that he loves for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we've kind of danced around it a couple times on the program before. What is rat poison? I find that a lot of Alabama fans end up taking positive comments. Alabama's going to be number one. Alabama's going to win the SEC. And they say, oh, that's rat poison. No, that's not rat poison. Nick Saban is serving up the rat poison, giving it. What did he say? Oh, you guys served rat poison this year. It was really yummy. Affecting the team. I wonder if he was basically becoming a naysayer. Basically saying, I'm going to doubt my guys, and they will work that much harder. Malachi Moore, we're going to hear from him tomorrow, and I'm sure that Malachi Moore is going to be asked about Coach Saban's maybe lack of faith in the secondary. Coach Saban spent all year long last year, every time Malachi Moore's name came up in any media setting, he complimented Malachi Moore for his heady play, for his ability to get the secondary on the same page, and for his leadership in the secondary. Well, Malachi Moore is still operating in the back end of the Alabama defense, obviously learning a different system. I wonder if Nick Saban was just kind of adding an extra layer of motivation for this year's Alabama Crimson Tide while complimenting some of his former assistants and also being a little bit sensitive to the losses that Alabama's faced, particularly with the position group that he spent the last 17 years coaching. Is Trey Amos a huge loss for Alabama? Yeah, sort of. Is Caleb Downs a big loss for Alabama? We won't undersell that. Absolutely. He is one of the best defensive backs in the country, playing safety for Ohio State. But you went out and you got guys who are very talented. Damani Jackson, former 5-star recruit. Keon Sabb was a really, really talented player at Michigan last year. National championship winner. I think that Alabama went out and got a lot of talent. It leads back to what my biggest question is, and we addressed it on the Friday program. What my biggest question is for the defense is how quickly the Alabama Crimson Tide will get to 100%, will operate, will become reactive as a defense instead of, okay, I'm hearing the call, whether it's, cover 3, cover 2, cover 1, and I got to think about it. This is my man. I've got number 1, I've got number 2, I've got number 3. Now, how quickly will Alabama in the 4-2-5 swarm defense under Kane Womack get to a place where I hear the call, it goes in my brain, my body knows exactly what to do, I am operating at 100%. And so that's my biggest concern and question mark. It's not the talent level in the defensive backfield. It's not the talent level even on the defense. It's how quickly they will basically go from hearing the assignment, hearing the play call, to knowing the assignment and making it second nature. So Nick Saban serving up a little yummy rat poison for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and surely Jalen Milroe, surely Tyler Booker, and particularly Malachi Moore will be asked about it tomorrow downstairs in the Omni Hotel right here at SEC Media Days. That leads me to Kalen DeBoer. On Friday, we talked about what is your biggest question, and I talked about rotations and how Alabama is going to use its depth on offense. And I think Alabama has elite depth on offense. You've heard coaches in the last 2 days talk about competitive depth, and I think Alabama absolutely has competitive depth. But a friend of mine, and you guys can leave your comments as we still have several hours until we hear from Alabama tomorrow morning. You can leave your comment. A friend of mine sent me a question. And you can always do so on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Hit me up in any of the DMs. Send me a question that I think is very, very valid and maybe better than any question that I've already come up with. A friend of mine that sent me a question said, Joe, I would ask Kalen DeBoer, what is your schematic influence on the Alabama offense? And it kind of dances around or kind of addresses a topic that we have danced around throughout the offseason. I've talked about how I believe the Alabama offense is going to be very, very deadly this year. I've talked about how I think the Alabama offense is going to take a step forward schematically. And we've talked about Kalen DeBoer putting players in positions to succeed. Kalen DeBoer operating with less at other places and basically getting the most out of his players. Well, I think that's a great question. What is your schematic advantage, Coach DeBoer, and what will be your schematic influence? Obviously, you see Nick Sheridan, you see Jamarcus Shepard as two of the forward-facing offensive coaches, and you already know Robert Gillespie, the holdover from Nick Saban's staff here at Alabama. But I wonder, and I think it's a great question, what is Kalen DeBoer's schematic influence on the Alabama offense? I think that if I get a chance in the main media room tomorrow, I'll go with that. If you guys have a different question, if you think you can top that question, please feel free to drop it in the comments section at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I am really looking forward to getting into the main media room tomorrow to hear from Kalen DeBoer and spending some time with Jalen Milroe, Malachi Moore, and Tyler Booker. We're going to keep it going on the program. I want to talk about Kirby Smart and what he talked about the driving incidents. And I want to talk about how he and the Tennessee players discussed the Alabama Crimson Tide matchup without Nick Saban this seaon. Before we do that, though, I do want to give a shout out to my friend Derek Daniel State Farm. You can call him today at 205-758-3391 for all of your insurance needs. Derek Daniel operates right up there on Highway 69 North, 4604 Highway 69 North in Northport, Alabama, 35473. Call him today for a home, life, and auto insurance quote. Call him actually tomorrow morning at 8:30 for your home, life, and auto insurance quote. And tell him that the Joe Gaither Show sent you. We look forward to representing Derek Daniel, and we love representing Derek Daniel right here on the program. So we heard from Kirby Smart today. And Kirby Smart had a lot of the coach speak going on, and he talked about, every game in the SEC, the next game is the biggest game, and every game is hard in the SEC. Well, you can't convince me of that when you're playing Vanderbilt, Coach. Sorry. But really, before the main media session, he was asked about the driving situation. And after the main media sessions, he was asked about the driving situations. We've talked about it on the program before. 24 violations, 24 car violations, reckless driving, DUI, 24 violations since last January. Last January, where 2 people in the Georgia program died. And Kirby Smart, I thought, gave a pretty decent answer. Obviously, he wanted to defend his players. Oh, it's not as bad as you think. We got good kids here. And yeah, look, you get in a car accident, it doesn't make you a bad person. You drive fast, it doesn't make you a bad person. We drove a little bit quickly getting out here to Dallas. And so I don't think it makes you a bad person, but the pattern has to stop. And the pattern is obviously a pattern for the Georgia program. So what did he say that they're doing about it? Well, the Georgia Collective, he said originally, I think it was kind of described as a fine, but it's not exactly a fine. The Georgia Collective is taking the player, whoever the player is, whether it be any of the offensive Smile London from last week or the offensive lineman from last week, and saying, okay, this is the earnings that you were scheduled to make. We are now cutting back on it. It's effectively a fine. It's not a fine in contract language because the players are not employees, right? And you got to make that very clear. It's not a fine in contractual language, but for simple terms, for you and I, the players are getting fined by the Georgia Collective. And that's really what their next step has been. And we'll see if that step curbs the reckless driving in Athens. But for Kirby Smart and Josh Heupel and the Tennessee players that we got to talk to today on the field, they're going to be experiencing a little bit something different. The last time that Georgia came to Bryant-Denny Stadium was 2020, the COVID season. You had 20% capacity, and Georgia loses to Alabama right here in Bryant-Denny Stadium. All right, you fast forward and you've played Alabama a couple times since. Obviously, congratulations. Georgia beats Alabama for the 2021 national championship up there in Indianapolis. But most recently, in December, Alabama wins the SEC championship game. It's going to be a very different feel for this coming season right here in Bryant-Denny Stadium. But Coach Kirby Smart said nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change from a Georgia perspective. We're going to go into Bryant-Denny Stadium, and it's going to be a great game between 2 great programs. And then you heard from the Tennessee players. I got to talk to Amari Thomas, a defensive lineman, who was a big part of the Tennessee win in Neyland Stadium. Got himself a sack on Bryce Young, got 2 tackles, and obviously they broke a 15-year streak up there in Neyland Stadium. And he admitted, yes, the 3rd Saturday in October is a huge game. But they continue, and Cooper Mays as well. Our man Will Miller talked to Cooper Mays a good bit about the 3rd Saturday in October, and they all said, oh, yeah, it's a big game. We're focused on the next game. We're focused on the first game. We got to take it game by game and focus on ourselves, and it's business as usual. Nobody wanted to put out the bulletin board material, which is respectable, absolutely respectable. But it makes me wonder, really, what the value of the SEC Media Days is. Now, granted, it's a lot of fun to be out here, and we really, really appreciate being out here to represent all 8 websites and really 3 websites on the Walsh Writing Network, Cowbell Corner, Mizzou Central, and, of course, right here, our home website, BamaCentral.com. But really, you're getting all these political canned answers. And it makes me just wonder what really is the value. Because same, Brent Venables, every game. We're looking forward to renewing the rivalry with Missouri. We're looking forward to playing Texas. We're looking forward to these games. Everything's big. We're looking forward to everything. It's just a big word salad that a lot of these coaches are constructing and spinning. And while it's awesome to be out here, and really it's great for connections and great to meet other members of the media and try to really get excited for the year, I think that's what it serves what the best purpose is, what the most effective purpose is. It gets people excited about college football. Alabama kicks off on August 31st. How many days away is that? August 31st, days till. You have 46 days until Alabama kicks it off. And from here, it's basically no days because Alabama is going to report to fall camp at the end of the month. We're going to get back on, midday Thursday after Auburn gets done at the podium. We're going to be coming back to Tuscaloosa. It's going to be another week to say hi to the family, to get your things done around the house. And from there, it's fall camp. And boom, fall camp is going to fly by. Especially for us in Tuscaloosa. Kalen DeBoer operating with morning practices is going to change our routines. It's going to fly by. Hang in there. You got a couple more weeks for football to be coming. The last thing that I want to talk about, particularly pertaining to SEC Media Days, is Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin really, really went after the transfer portal hard. And on Monday, he basically credited Nick Saban and Kirby Smart for his transfer portal philosophy. And you can read about that at BamaCentral.com. But he went to Nick Saban and went to Kirby Smart and said, okay, this is what these guys have done, and went to the transfer portal, brought in a huge class. He's got guys like Walter Nolan. He's got guys like Princely Omunlamalian. He's got Antoine Wells Jr. And, like we said, former Alabama defensive back Trey Amos. And why did he do that? Well, Lane Kiffin admits that, okay, we've got to have guys who fit length and size, and we don't have that really. So what does Alabama do when they need somebody in the transfer portal? You go out and get a Jamison Williams. You go out and get a Jahmyr Gibbs. You go out and get a starter. You go out and get an impact player. And I think that's exactly what Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss does. And Ole Miss, sneaky team. I think Ole Miss has one of the softest schedules of any SEC contender. You look at the Texas schedule, you look at the Ole Miss schedule, and you look at the Missouri schedule, and you talk about contending teams in the SEC, and those three teams have perhaps the three softest schedules. And I think that you will see maybe scheduling balance become a major factor this year when you talk about divisionless SEC. It's going to be very important who you play and where you play them. Obviously, from an Alabama perspective, you've got Georgia right here at home. You're going out to Oklahoma. You're going up to Tennessee. You're going down to LSU. Big road games right there. And so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the schedule falls and breaks for each of these contending SEC teams. It brings me back to the very beginning. Nick Saban basically picked Texas and Georgia to be in the SEC championship game, but Georgia has a very difficult schedule coming to Tuscaloosa and going to Texas. I think that's going to be a real challenge to play on the road, and if you split those games, then it's going to be really dependent on what the other two teams do. You split those games, you beat, let's just say you beat Georgia, you beat Alabama, you lose to Texas. Let's just roll the dice and say it that way. Well, you lose to Texas, you're going to be dependent on what Texas does the rest of the year. And maybe each school is going to be one loss, and boom, you find yourself back in the SEC championship, a rematch with Texas and Georgia, and this time it'll be over in Atlanta. But vice versa, you lose to Alabama, you go out and beat Texas. Well, you're going to be dependent on that Alabama schedule. Does Alabama go up to Tennessee and lose? Does Alabama go down to LSU and lose? And what happens with that third team? Missouri, maybe. Ole Miss, maybe. Does that third team keep you out of the SEC championship? I think the schedule is really, really going to determine the outcome of the SEC championship this season. And so for Ole Miss and for Missouri and for Texas, I think that those three schools are kind of waiting to pounce on the opportunity that is their easier schedule amongst the contending teams. So let's round this out. Let's round this out with EA Sports College Football 25. Obviously, I have not played the game yet, and if you've listened to the show at all, you know that I'm not really going to be playing the game. It came out on midday Monday if you guys paid the extra price. But what we will talk about are some of these ratings. All the ratings have come out for the Alabama team. And what's the first thing that catches my mind? I just went over it with my friend Will Miller, who's patiently hanging out with us as the evening is waning on. I'm looking through this list of Alabama football players, and of course, I'm seeing Jihad Campbell, I'm seeing Jeremy Bernard, I'm seeing LT Overton, and I'm seeing just the who's who. But I'm scrolling down and I'm asking myself, EA Sports, who is LaMarcus Fox? Who's this guy? Bobby Walker-Smith. Come on, EA Sports, who are these guys? Let's keep going. There's a couple of more on here. Who is Tavon Bennett? Who is Simeon Patrick? EA Sports has spent all this time, right? All this time and energy. Who is Hakeem Taylor? Who are these players? Who is Derek Vincent Douglas? What are we doing, EA Sports? You spent all this time. You've hyped up this game so much, but you've got players. And I guess the only explanation is these are randomly generated players. Abdul Wynn, Garrick Sanders. Who the heck are these guys? Durante Basher. You've got everybody that I just mentioned is on the EA Sports football game on the Alabama roster. Are these guys real players? No. Do these guys exist in the scheme of reality? No, they're not even college football players. They're just NPCs, non-playable characters. Obviously, you can play with them if you want to, but it just caught my eye. The first thing right here, going through this roster, caught my eye. You've got about 6, 7, 8 players that don't exist. And so it doesn't make any sense what we're doing, EA Sports. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of fun to play with Ryan Williams, and you see him rated as an 81, and he's one of the better freshmen in the game. And obviously, if you take the time to play with Ryan Williams and develop him in your particularly universe or world, whatever you want to call it, he's going to be one of the better players over the course of 4 years for you, or 3 if it's realistic, because that man's going to go on into the NFL after really 3 solid seasons here in Tuscaloosa. I think the game looks a lot of fun. You've seen a lot of gameplay coming out, but EA Sports, just very, very strange to me that you have put all this time and all this energy into making a realistic college football game, and that's what it seems like you have done by getting the right copyrights, getting the right logos, getting the stadiums right, but you tamper or taint or contaminate your roster, contaminate the realism by adding 7, 8 players that don't actually exist. You look through the roster, and we're talking defensive backs mostly. So let's talk about the highest rated defensive backs. We already talked about Malachi Moore on a show, last week at 92, one of the highest rated players, one of the top 100 players in the game. Well, Keon Sabb, transfer from Michigan, is rated as an 88. All right, so come on. We're cooking with gas here in the secondary. Damani Jackson, we mentioned him earlier, 86. We're still cooking with gas. You continue on, and you're looking for another defensive back. Devontae Smith, 84. All right, maybe you see Devontae Smith play a little bit of corner. He's probably going to be a safety. He's listed as a safety on the game. He's been playing safety in Tuscaloosa, but he's a player that actually has experience right here in Tuscaloosa. But as you continue on, it starts to get a little bleak. The next guy is Jalen Mbakwe, cornerback. He's rated as a 79. King Mack, this is a transfer from Penn State, is rated as a 79 as well. Xavier Brown, freshman, rated as a 79. Jaleel Hurley, redshirt freshman, 79. So you're seeing a trend. You're seeing guys just on the cusp of 80. Zay Mincy, cornerback, at 78. Deshaun Jones, the transfer from Wake Forest, 78 as well, which is kind of why I think that by the end of the year, and really probably early into the year, week 3, week 4, week 5, you're going to see Damani Jackson and one of these 3 freshmen, be it Jalen Mbakwe, be it Zay Mincy, or be it Xavier Brown, take over as that second corner. Safety Bray Hubbard is listed as a 75. Safety Cameron Howard listed as a 76. So yeah, Coach Saban, you're not wrong. The secondary is a concern, but I think that you have plenty of talent in the secondary. I think you have plenty of talent in the secondary, enough to get by and enough to make things work. My man Wendell Hare leaving a comment as we get out of here. Those names will probably be changed to newer recruits that are coming in if they update the game. Well, you got Kevin Riley, and so you've got the summer recruits. Kevin Riley, you've got the summer enrollees is in there already. I just think that Wendell, they just threw a bunch of names in to make the numbers work. And so it just makes me laugh as EA Sports was really striving for realism, but they mix in about 8 or 9 players that don't exist at all in college football. But we'll see if they update it. Things are early. Obviously, the game only came out yesterday, and we do expect lots of updates to come. What else we expect are updates tomorrow. I'm getting my day going bright and early. 7 a.m., I will be on WNSP. As I put this episode out, I'm going to put it on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. You're probably going to be watching it on Wednesday as you start your day, and I appreciate you doing that as you get excited for the day. WNSP for myself at 7 a.m. And after that, it will be full go chasing down Jalen Milroe, chasing down Malachi Moore, and Tyler Booker. I was told, we'll see. It was basically the edict that I was given. And so hopefully it will be just like last year where I get 3 to 4 minutes with each of the players while they are milling around the facility right here at the Omni Hotel. At 9 a.m., we will hear from Kalen DeBoer in the main media room. It'll be myself and Will Miller, and I think we're going to try to get as close to the front as possible so that we can get good pictures and so that we can get a question. Right now, my question, I am going to take my friend's question. What is your schematic influence on the offense, Kalen DeBoer? Unless you can chime in on the comment section and change my mind, feel free to do so. So we'll ask him that tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., and we'll have updates for you at BamaCentral.com. And then after that, Tyler Booker and Malachi Moore and Jalen Milroe will break out in the media room, and we'll go to a couple of those guys. We'll have video for you on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. And after that, it's going to be flipping our gears to Mississippi State. We'll be working for Cowbell Corner, covering Jeff Levy's first SEC Media Days appearance. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day. I'm actually about to produce this bad boy and jump in the bed so that I can get up early and get after it. As we get out of here for the day, I want to thank everybody who commented on the show. I saw a handful of you guys commenting, and I really, really appreciate everyone who supports me. But who I really appreciate supporting me is Purple Turtle Roofing. You can call them today at 1-877-787-6635. Purple Turtle Roofing is the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and in Mississippi. Whether it's addressing your leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Call them today, 877-PT-ROOF-5. Dustin Foley and his great team will come out there and give you a free roof inspection. They'll send one of their qualified employees, and they will check you out for free. Visit them online at www.roofturtle.com and make sure that you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. I'm getting out of here for the night. I appreciate all you guys for watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. We are the home of the Alabama Crimson Tides on SI. This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.